And my father never wanted this.
That's not true.
He had 20 years to name the heir and never did. Steadfastly, he upheld Rhaenyra's claim.
He changed his mind.
Wow. No. He could have, but he never did. Because he didn't like me.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing another House of the Dragon spotlight video. This one is about Aegon. We're going to discuss his portrayal on the show by Tennant and Glynn Carney, compare it to the source material in Fire and Blood, and then look ahead to what we can expect for the character in Season 2. I've done a number of these spotlight videos. I'll link the playlist for them down below. Now, let's dive in. While George R. R. Martin has written many great characters in his A Song of Ice and Fire world, it's very difficult to find much good in Aegon. We can understand some of what's made him the way he is, but we'll get to that a little later. Aegon's portrayal on the show is pretty much in line with what's in the pages of Fire and Blood. He's lazy and only interested in being self-indulgent, drinking, and womanizing. In the book, it was said that he had a number of bastard children, and this was hinted at on the show late in Season 1. Unlike his brother Aemond, Aegon is not a skilled fighter, so the upcoming war isn't the place for someone who has lived a life of gluttony. Tennant did an excellent job as the younger version of Aegon. When we had the time skip that brought us to the older version of the characters, the switch in the Rhaenyra role was the most jarring to me, but after that it was Aegon. Tennant was convincing, showing how the pomposity, indifference, and lack of seriousness was already embedded in Aegon. I felt at the time that they might have been able to age him up a bit, and he could have continued in the role. But still, I adjusted pretty quickly to Glynn Carney's portrayal, and I'm glad they made the switch. He was outstanding. What's most interesting to me with the two different Aegons is that the younger versions of him and his brother Aemond are very similar to the adult versions, but with one big difference. As kids, Aegon filled the big brother role, and Aemond had not really asserted himself, at least not prior to claiming Vhagar. When we jump to the current timeline, it's Aemond who is the more forceful figure, the real leader between the two. Aemond is the most capable of ruling, and not only does Aemond strongly feel that, but Aegon sees it too.
I have no wish to rule, no taste for duty, I'm not suited. You'll get no argument from me. Let me go, I will find a ship and sail away, never to be found.
The only thing that Aegon II has in common with Aegon the Conqueror is their names. You couldn't have two greater polar opposites. And there's symbolism here too in how the Conqueror's namesake will be the first to greatly weaken House Targaryen. The low point for the characters so far was when we learned that Aegon had assaulted Diana, one of the chambermaids. It also gives us a glimpse into what some of his primary motivations are.
I did not ask for this. I've done everything you've asked me to, and I try so hard, but it will never be enough for you or Father.
Aegon feels unloved and unable to live up to the expectations of his mother and father. Of course, this is no excuse for his actions. Alicent was in a similar situation with Otto, having her father force her to comfort the older king to further the Hightower's power and position. Still, she never took the self-centered and destructive path that Aegon did, even though it's been clear she's as tormented as her son. So while we can understand what's brought Aegon to this point, we can't really sympathize with him here because he's chosen this life. My favorite Aegon scene was the Carnation. We saw the painful ride there with his mother, all of the disdain he had for what was being forced upon him, and the continued uncertainty he had about his own mother's love. But in that moment, after being crowned, all the doubt and his lack of desire to be king was lifted from him. The cheers of the people seemed to fill him with the affirmation and adoration that had been lacking all of his life. And what was just as interesting in the scene was how appalled both Aemond and Helaena looked by this sudden change. Speaking of Helaena, there isn't much to say about her marriage to Aegon except that it's not a good fit for either one of them. We never see them alone together, and while that would be a problem for the portrayal of most relationships in a series, it's not here. It helps accentuate the chasm that stands between the two. One bit of criticism I have of the show is that we never saw Aegon with his dragon Sunfyre. All we saw of Sunfyre was this distant shot of him on the shore as everyone was arriving for Laena's funeral at Driftmark. As I've mentioned before, the bond between a dragon and their rider is very important for the show, and Aegon and Sunfyre are going to have some significant scenes in Season 2. I won't get into the spoilers here, but if you're interested in that sort of thing, I'll link my House of the Dragon update video from a few weeks ago below. They did an amazing job showing Daemon and Caraxes, and then Aemond and Vhagar. It's too bad they didn't work something in with Aegon and Sunfyre, particularly because Sunfyre has been called the most beautiful dragon ever seen with his gleaming gold wings. Now, they could make up for it a bit if we see an early scene with Sunfyre. I think if the opening shot of Season 2 were of Aegon flying down into King's Landing and into the Dragon Pit, it'd be a smart move, and a nice contrast to Rhaenyra doing the same thing on Syrax in Season 1. So, what can we expect for Aegon in the upcoming season? Well, not surprisingly, nothing good. We know he's not fit to rule, and he isn't a warrior like his brother Aemond or his uncle Daemon, so that leaves him in a very bad spot. In addition, his newfound confidence after the coronation could fuel some of his worst instincts and behaviors. If he asserts himself and doesn't listen to the counsel of those smarter and more experienced than him, he could make the same rash mistakes as Joffrey. I'm really interested in seeing how Aegon reacts to Aemond killing Lucerys. While I think Otto, and particularly Alicent, will be disappointed, I can see Aegon celebrating it. I hope one of the focuses of Episode 1 is the reaction among the Greens to what happened over Storm's End, along with some much-needed intra-family dynamics. We never saw anything after Aegon was crowned and Rhaenys made her escape. We need to see a lot of one-on-ones to provide needed character building for what's going to be a very tumultuous season. I'll be continuing these character spotlights as we edge ever closer to Season 2. I'm not sure which one I'm going to do next, but I don't have any additional ones in this series planned for the near future, so we'll see. If you enjoyed this one, hit the like button. And if you're interested in more on House of the Dragon and A Song of Ice and Fire, listen to Caraxes and subscribe. I want to thank everyone for watching, and I'll see you soon.